Well, it is a problem that we continue to track that could affect your safety. 19 investigates, finding Cleveland police lost more than 150 officers last year alone, continuing an alarming trend.
Certainly is, but as investigator Sarah Goldenberg found, some new incentives to hire new officers could be working.
"165 Cleveland police officers gone from the department in 1 year. That's how many CPD lost in 2023. 19 Investigates got a hold of these city records showing most officers who left last year resigned or retired. Compared to the last few years, the number of officers who left the department is down. In 2022, CPD lost 200 officers over the entire year. In 2021, they lost 186 officers. In total, over the last 3 years, CPD has lost about 550 police officers. I reached out to the city's public safety department and found nearly 30 officers who left CPD and went to other departments returned over that same amount of time. The city can't replace officers fast enough as academy classes continue to shrink. We spoke with Assistant Director of the Department of Public Safety, Jakima Dye, back in December.
The current climate of policing isn't the best. However, I wouldn't say that there are people who aren't applying. People are absolutely applying. We've seen an increase in applications.
That's a change from the past 3 years. Stats from the city show 144 officers in total graduated the Cleveland Police Academy during that time. Officials are trying to change that by offering new incentives, including a sign-on bonus of up to $5,000 and a 50% pay increase for cadets from $16 an hour to $24 an hour. A public safety spokesperson tells 19 Investigates Cleveland now offers one of the highest cadet salaries statewide, more than Cincinnati Police and the Ohio State Highway Patrol. Those incentives could be the reason CPD received 620 applications for the department in the fourth quarter of 2023. After an expedited hiring event for potential Cleveland police officers in December, about 250 attendees received a preconditional offer from the city. They still have to pass several requirements, including a background check, a physical fitness test, and complete the academy before getting the job. Sarah Goldenberg, 19 News.